What's going on, Boston Celtics fans? Welcome into Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot. And on today's show, we have a lot to unpack as we're going to be talking about some mid-season takeaways. Now, keep in mind, these are all takeaways, mostly pros, that we had before they played the Denver Nuggets last night, which unfortunately they did lose 102 to 100. But that did mark the 42nd game in the season. So let's talk about Game 1 through 41 for the Boston Celtics. And how we're going to do that? Well, we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference standings, because look at who's still number one. 32-10, the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, which everybody knew was going to be a contender in the Eastern Conference after they included Dame. Philadelphia 76ers are getting up there. They recently just beat the Denver Nuggets earlier this week. The Cavs, the Knicks, the Miami Heat, the Indiana Pacers, and now with Pascal Siakam, both Tyrese Haliburton and Siakam were in double digits last night for their first debut together on the same team. The Magic are still a team not to sleep on for the Boston Celtics, as they have been known to be their kryptonite. And the Bulls and Hawks, well, if we have to worry about them, then we're going to have a different video coming out. But the one thing that I want to point out here for the Boston Celtics over all of the Eastern Conference teams is the starting lineup. Why? Because the Boston Celtics have 6 starters, if you will. Al Horford, if you guys do remember, a long time ago, volunteered to come off the bench. Look at the starting five's numbers. Every single player is in double digits, and this is not like 10.1. No, this is above 10 points or more every single game. And what's even more exciting about watching the Boston Celtics play, you do not know which starter is going to pop off for the C's that ball game. And not only the starters, but the fact that the people coming off the bench have now earned a role in the rotation for Joe Mazzulla's Boston Celtics. The reserves have turned into role players, primarily Payton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Kornet, who I will give praise since he does deserve it, finally. You guys can go ahead and clip this and put it on social media if you need to, but I think that the big players here are Pritchard. They're talking about Luke Kornet and Sam Hauser, and Smitty knows we've talked some bad things about these players in the past.
I mean, you can go back to the beginning of this season. We talked about how Sam Hauser got off to a really rough start, and we didn't know if he'd be somebody valuable to have on the floor.
Right.
Because, is he going to be a plus defender? Most nights, maybe not. But not only has he come along as a flamethrower of a shooter from outside, he's also been a plus defender in many situations this season, on the ball and off the ball. He understands the system, and he's been fantastic. Kornet and Pritchard, they've come along, just as every game goes, they get better and more comfortable with the system. So we can't be happier with the production they've given us over the past couple of weeks.
Let's look at that production a little bit closer here, because we do know that Sam Hauser has done wonders when he's got a 3-ball in his hand. While I do wish he would get a little bit more comfortable driving to the basket, which he has in some scenarios, we do know that Hauser's main purpose on the Boston Celtics is catch and shoot. Why? Because he's really good at it. Look at his three-point percentage when he is catch and shooting, 41.5%, which is phenomenal. He's even better when he's wide open. However, his fourth quarter three-point percentage, 38.5%. I would really rely on this if I'm Joe Mazzulla, as we have seen night after night. Whether or not the C's know how to end a quarter, I do think Sam Hauser has earned a role to be able to be in these crunch time positions when you're down by 2 against the Nuggets, and potentially getting Hauser the ball in these tight scenarios, because his advanced shooting stats are proving why he is a lethal three-point shooter for the Boston Celtics. And like I said, it's time to talk about a little bit of Luke Kornet. He has definitely stepped up in a lot of ways, and what's even better is that he seems to be the personality on the team, a team that has a lot of personality already on it. This clip right here from their win a couple nights ago against the Spurs should just answer it all. What happened in this interview was Luke Kornet was surrounded by Brissett, Holiday, and Tatum after he had a fantastic game that night, and he looked around and goes, I feel like we should be a rap group of some sort. Go ahead and comment down below what you think that rap group should be named, because Luke Kornet, while he is growing, the C's do need him in the locker room as well, along with Payton Pritchard. We all know Payton Pritchard got extended in the offseason, and I'm going to be honest, I've given him a little bit of SHIT because I want him to be more. I want him to be preseason P the way that we saw it, but I guess I should break it down the stats a little bit. I should be not so harsh on Payton Pritchard. I mean, he's averaging 10 points per game. His field goal percentage is fine. His three-point percentage is going to get up there once he finds his rhythm a little bit more. 34% isn't what I expect from somebody that just got a contract extension, but over under the 15.5 plus minus, it could definitely be a lot worse. It's fantastic. So Let's go on ahead and talk about what Chris Forsberg really pointed out here, Smitty. I know that this was a stat that really popped out to you here.
I mean, yeah, think about this. A year ago, Payton Pritchard logged his 15th DNP. Coach's decision to not play him on the floor of the 22-23 season. He sat fourth on the Boston's guard depth chart. That's with Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon and company. This year, he's the only Celtics player to play in every single game. He's appeared in all 41, and he appeared last night against the Denver Nuggets as well. So, and he's among the NBA's net rating leaders. You saw that plus-minus. When he's been on the floor in January, he's been lights out. Now, given he's been in a lot of situations where the Celtics have been blowing out a team, but he hasn't relinquished those leads. He has performed and extended those leads. That's why the Celtics have such a great net rating when it all comes down to it.
Well, I think overall, these are just three sound decision makers that Joe Mazzulla is going to be able to rely on when you have to give your starters some rest. The start of the fourth quarter, coming out of halftime, anytime. I do have a lot of faith in these three players. Do I want more? Absolutely. But it is 40 games in, and the Boston Celtics are still the first in the Eastern Conference, so I can only wish for so much. But here's why you guys subscribe, is that anything that's possibly going to happen with the Boston Celtics, whether it's news or rumors, or if a trade does happen, because we all know Brad Stevens never sleeps, go on ahead and subscribe to this channel. We're going to talk about it at midseason point, in the playoffs, in the finals. We want you guys to be a part of it. Hit that sub button for me while I bring up my second midseason takeaway here. Jaylen Brown's best work this season. I know that when you have two players as great as Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, it's super easy to just kind of package these two together like we have, the duo of the Jays. But let's really break down what JB has done single-handedly for the Boston Celtics. He's averaging 25 points per game. He went on a hot streak here for the Boston Celtics where he had over 30 points per game at one point. He's rebounding nearly 6 boards, which really helps Jayson Tatum as he is the leading rebounder on this team. 3 assists is great. 52% from the field is amazing. 42% from a three-point line is even better. Jaylen Brown, like he said, is playing his best basketball right now, Smitty.
Leading the Celtics in field goal percentage, and that's something that I never thought I'd be able to say about Jaylen Brown this season, last season, any season. He's never been the most efficient shooter, but he's really taking that next step. And not only does he affect his own shooting, Boston as a team is up 3.9% in their effective field goal percentage department when Brown is on the floor. He makes this team better on the offensive end, and this isn't even to mention the impact that he's made defensively. He's been one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA this season, holding opponents to some of the lowest field goal percentages across the NBA. He's been fantastic, and I love what I've seen from JB this year.
I have too, and I know you guys have as well. So now it's your turn to show JB some love down in the comments section. We've seen a lot of nicknames for him over this time in the Boston area, but nonetheless, go on ahead and type juice down in the comments, but be sure to put his little number 7 in there as well. Give JB some love, because there would be no duo of JT and JB without JB. But while you guys are doing that, I do want to break down a quick sponsor here on Celtics Today, which of course is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America's phone, in my phone, and in Smitty's phone. Why? Because all you have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and pick more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. And what's even better is that you can do NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, college basketball, anything you guys want to go on ahead and make your picks for. PrizePicks probably has it. So these are my picks for this weekend's NFL playoff games. I do have Christian McCaffrey rushing more than 92.5 yards. Zay Flowers, the Baltimore Ravens, who I think are personally going all the way, will have more than 51.5 receiving yards. And the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to help the Detroit Lions with more than 93.5 receiving yards. These are my picks, but I want to see yours. All you guys have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100 and watch yourself win some real money in real time. Let's talk about KP now. We talked about JB. We're going to talk about KP because I think he truly makes this duo a trio. KP unlocks everything for the Boston Celtics. We even saw it last night against the Denver Nuggets, but let's go a bit wider here, and let's break down his stats from the entire season. And keep in mind, he has sat quite a few games just for rest purposes from Joe Mazzulla. He's nearly at 20 points per game. His assists are fine. His field goal percentage is amazing. I love this coming from KP. His three-point percentage is not the best, but you know what? He's a 7'3" unicorn shooting threes. And you know what? When they go in, it's when the C's need it most. So I'm okay with it not being at around 36% because I'll take that from a 7'3" guy. But let's talk about his advanced shootings and dive a little bit deeper here. His catch and shoot is okay, 33.8. But the reason why I do like that you can at least put KP in this category is because defenses aren't expecting a 7'3" unicorn to rip a three. And I've seen over 35+ feet shots coming from KP. I'll take his catch and shoot with a grain of salt because his less than 10 feet shots are fantastic. 71%, he's really starting to nail down this turnaround fadeaway shot that I'm absolutely loving outside of the paint. And of course, under than 4 seconds to go with the shot clock, 45%, which means you can count on him in crunch time. And it's very good, especially when a lot of these Celtics games are kind of coming down to the wire towards the end of the quarters. It's nice to know that KP's got that in his back pocket. But look, he can score off the dribble in all three levels, which is amazing because I'm going to bring up his height one more time. 7'3". He is doing what some guards do in this league. He's doing what most bigs do in this league, and he's doing it on the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. He acts as a decoy for catch and shoot. We've seen him lingering at the top of the key numerous games, and he protects the rims. I love what he did against Jokic last night against the Denver Nuggets, and he has the ability to guard the perimeter. A freaking unicorn.
He absolutely is. And when you have a unicorn like that, 7'3", like you mentioned, he can be prone to injuries, and we've seen that through his career so far. The Celtics are doing a great job at preserving KP's health this season, I think. They're sitting him in the games that they need to, and look at what happens when he's fresh and ready to go. I mean, I know I hate to mention the Denver Nuggets game because they did lose, but look at the first quarter of that game. He just comes out firing on Nikola Jokic, drops 15 in the first quarter. He is that spark plug as well when Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum aren't being as efficient, and the Celtics are just that much more lethal on the offensive end with him out there.
Well, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball here, Smitty.
I think we should.
I think personally this defense frightens everybody that either comes into TD Garden or has the Boston Celtics come into their home arena, and I don't blame them because there are a lot of teams out there in the NBA that are lacking something. They're lacking size. They're lacking a perimeter defender. They're lacking a big. They're lacking a rim protector. The C's have everything, whether or not it's in the starting five or on the bench. And there is a play I do want to point out. It went against the Raptors here, where the ball handler was being guarded by not one, not two, but three Boston Celtics defender, and that entire play blew up for the Raptors offense because it ended with a Luke Kornet block. That's the point here. If you're going to get an all-defensive player in your face contesting your shot like a Derek White or Drew Holiday, well, guess what? You're also going to have somebody like a Sam Hauser or a Payton Pritchard coming to guard your side. And then you got big-ass Al Horford or KP or Luke Kornet coming in to just make the defense excellent.
It's awesome, and their ability to switch on screens makes that so difficult for opponents to score when everybody's trying to score off the dribble and whatnot. And when they go into a zone defense, it's awesome as well. You see Drew Holiday bouncing around in the middle of the zone, deflecting passes, just knocking stuff out of bounds. It doesn't create turnovers necessarily, but it gets the defense on their toes, gets them out of their rhythm, and takes them out of the offense that they're trying to run. It's amazing to see what the Celtics have been able to do.
I mean, they kind of force every single offense to run a hurry-up offense because you have limited time to figure out what you need to do because there are so many defenders on the Boston Celtics, and we're not the only ones that think so. Of course, Jayson Tatum has spoken about the zone defense on the Boston Celtics, saying, we screw it up sometimes, use your imagination, but just our communication, we're always talking, and everybody has to be out there talking. It's like kind of fun being in it. We're still figuring it out ourselves, but I'm okay with them figuring it out at 41 games throughout the season. But the fact that they're having fun, and I'm going to be, cliche, and I hope everybody's having fun. I don't care who wins. That's a lie. But I am glad to see that they look like they're enjoying playing basketball out there, which really does matter.
Absolutely. I mean, like I just said before, when Drew Holiday's bouncing around at 6'3" in the middle of a zone of 7-footers and just knocking stuff around, it gives defenses a different look, and there's something they're not expecting. And the fact that the Celtics have 5, 6, 7 guys who are able to plug and play in these kind of defensive scenarios just speaks volumes about the roster that they've kind of constructed here and the way that they've played so far.
Well, hopefully they're going to keep playing the way that they have played, and they're going to keep having fun because as of right now, they're the title favorites. And this has fluctuated multiple times because a lot of these teams are trying to make trades just to keep up with the Boston Celtics. And I know we've lost some bad games. We've lost some really good games this season, but Unfortunately, you're not going to win 82 of them. The C's are the title favorites right now, and let's go ahead and break it down by the number. Why? Because their offensive rating right now is third in the NBA. Their defensive rating is better. It's second in the NBA. We just talked an entire segment on why their defense works here. Their net rating is first in the NBA. The plus minuses go crazy because they have such great resources in the starting five and on the bench. Their three-point field goal made percentage is first in the NBA. They made 665?
665 threes? Yeah.
I had to double check that number real quick.
Oh, yeah. Think about it. When they're taking around, they're taking like 40 a game. So
Yeah.
they played 40 games. It's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah,
When you
it's a
break
lot.
it down like that, to be first in that category, and that's made, too. That's field goals made.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic stat. Not to mention their total blocks because you got the unicorn, because you got Al Horford, and because you have Derek White blocking that
We
ball.
haven't even mentioned Derek White much
We
in this
haven't
episode.
mentioned Derek White.
But everybody knows the impact that he makes on both ends for this team
Absolutely.
if you watch any Celtics basketball this season. And everything works for
It
this
does.
team. You look at this offensive rating, it's great. It's among the top 3 in the league. And it only gets better when you have both Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown out there on the floor. But this is something that is just music to my ears, or I guess a sight for my sore eyes. Tatum on the floor versus Brown off. We've always known that's been a decent lineup for the Celtics because we know Tatum's the alpha, right?
Right.
It's 123.2, that offensive rating. The offense is still great without Jaylen Brown on the floor. But this is huge. Jaylen Brown on the floor versus Jayson Tatum off. That is a massive number. This used to be a lineup that would get killed without Jayson Tatum on the floor
Right.
and Jaylen Brown kind of leading the unit. But Jaylen Brown is taking that step up. He's being more efficient. He's making the right basketball plays, and that's resulting in success in the offensive end for Boston.
Well, the word's not ours. He's playing his best basketball of his life.
Yep.
Right now, and we do hope that continues for the next 40 I almost said 40 years, 40 games, because look, I really, really, really like this Boston Celtics team.
We love 'em.
We love them. Smitty and I both. This goes for, we are the we that loves this team. We know you guys do too. And I know that Brad Stevens has put his elbow grease into making this team perfect for Banner 18. The way this team is playing together as a unit, it looks great. It's not going to be easy to get that title. But the grit that I have seen, the resources, and the abilities that they have, I do not see how a viable trade is going to make them any better without giving up something that they've already built together. They are a unit, and I've loved watching them play so far. So, all you guys have to do for me is grade the first half of this season. Type A, B, C, D, or F. If I see any Fs, I'm removing it. Just kidding, you know what I mean? Go ahead and grade the first half of this Boston Celtics season, A, B, C, or D, while I leave you off with this very, very wholesome photo from the team playing. If anybody makes a trade and messes up this unit, I will be severely upset because this team is going to win Banner 18. And subscribe to this channel to be here with us along that journey to get that championship.